Think you are high maintenance. You have nothing on these people. We have collected 61 of the most unhinged hotel complaints ever recorded. From guests demanding the staff turn down the volume of the ocean, to furious reviews because the waiter was too handsome, the level of delusion here is actually scary. Stick around because you are not ready for the pure chaos of number 40. Let's dive into the madness. 1. A furious woman called the front desk at 2 in the morning and screamed that she could not hear herself think. She told the tired night manager that the background noise was completely unacceptable for a 5-star resort. She demanded that someone go outside immediately and turn down the volume of the ocean waves. She claimed the crashing water was vibrating her walls, and she had a very important meeting in the morning. The manager paused for a long time and gently explained that the Atlantic Ocean does not have a volume dial. She hung up and wrote a review, saying the staff was lazy and refused to fix the broken water machine. 2. A wealthy businessman marched down to the lobby of his luxury Mayfair hotel and threw his room key on the counter. He shouted that he had been completely scammed by the brochure because his window only showed boring streets and old buildings. He looked the concierge in the eye and demanded to know why his room did not have a clear view of the beach. The confused staff member tried to explain that they were in the middle of London, which is 40 miles away from the nearest coast. The man turned bright red and argued that since he paid premium prices, he expected the ocean to be visible. He stormed out, claiming the hotel hid the water on purpose. 3. A high-maintenance fashionista called the housekeeping director in a total panic. She screamed that she could not possibly sleep in the bed because the sheets were attacking her eyes. She explained that the fabric was far too bright and the extreme whiteness was giving her a severe migraine. She actually demanded that the maids take the clean linens away and replace them with something beige or slightly dirty. The confused staff tried to explain that bleaching sheets is standard for hygiene, but she refused to listen. She ended up sleeping on top of the bedspread with her sunglasses on and complained that the cleanliness was aggressive. 4. A grumpy husband slammed his napkin onto his half-eaten steak and demanded to speak to the restaurant manager immediately. He shouted that his entire anniversary dinner was completely ruined because of the hotel staffing choices. He pointed an angry finger at their server and claimed the young man was far too handsome to be working in food service. He explained that his wife had not looked at him once because she was too busy staring at the waiter. The man demanded a refund for the meal and insisted that next time they be served by someone much uglier. The manager had to hide in the kitchen to stop himself from laughing out loud. 5. A terrified housekeeper radioed security after she walked into a suite to clean the bathroom and saw a crime scene of pastry. A chaotic guest had gone to a local bakery and purchased 50 expensive fruit pies just to destroy them. He had filled the entire bathtub with the desserts and spent hours stomping them into the drain with his bare feet. When the hotel charged his credit card for the plumbing damage, he actually called to complain about the fee. He argued that he was expressing his artistic freedom, and the pipes should have been able to handle the crust. The plumber reportedly quit his job that day. 6. A young woman sent a furious legal threat to the general manager, stating that she intended to sue the hotel for child support. She explained that she had originally booked a room with 2 separate twin beds, but the front desk had upgraded them to a single double bed. She claimed that because of this forced proximity, she was now pregnant, and it was entirely the fault of the hotel. She insisted that if they had been given separate beds, nothing would have happened. The legal team read the letter 3 times to make sure it was real. They sent her a polite rejection letter and a coupon for a crib. 7. A hysterical mother dragged her crying children into the lobby and screamed that the beach was unsafe for human use. She told the resort manager that nobody had warned her family that there were actual living creatures in the water. She claimed her son was traumatized because he saw a small fish swimming near his ankle. She shouted that the hotel should have put up a net or removed all the marine life before guests arrived. She demanded a full refund for their vacation because she thought the ocean was just a large swimming pool. The lifeguard watched in silence as she banned her kids from looking at the sea. 8. An elderly tourist slammed his fist on the concierge desk in Barcelona and demanded to know why nobody spoke proper English. He was absolutely furious that the hotel staff greeted him with foreign words and that the restaurant only served local cuisine. He shouted that there were simply too many Spanish people in the hotel and on the streets. He claimed that the brochure did not mention the hotel would be full of foreigners. The receptionist stared at him in confusion and reminded him that he was currently in Spain. The man wrote a 1-star review warning others that the country was too authentic. 9. A pampered luxury traveler called the maintenance department in tears because she was having a terrible evening. She sobbed that the marble jacuzzi in her presidential suite was entirely too large for one person. She complained that it took more than 10 minutes to fill up with water, which was a waste of her valuable vacation time. She actually expected a maintenance worker to come up and install a smaller bathtub immediately. She argued that she was getting cold waiting for the water to rise. The staff offered her a bucket to help fill it faster, but she hung up the phone in disgust. 10. A jealous wife stormed into the manager's office and demanded that he close down the beach immediately. She was shaking with rage because there were too many beautiful women sunbathing on the sand. She claimed that the hotel was practically forcing her husband to cheat because he could not stop staring at them. She insisted that the staff go outside and tell the attractive women to put more clothes on or leave the property. She told the manager that her marriage was in danger because the view was too good. He politely explained that he could not control who booked the hotel or what they looked like. 11. A furious mother called the billing department screaming about a $400 cleaning fee on her receipt. She admitted that she had brought 5 pounds of loose glitter into the hotel room. She explained that she simply wanted to create a magical fairy dust experience for her children. She claimed that the hotel hated magic because the housekeepers had to scrub the carpet for 3 days. She insisted that the glitter was a gift to the next guest, and she should actually be paid for decorating. The manager kept the charge because the sparkles were embedded in the ceiling grout. 12. A delusional dog owner marched into the lobby with a golden retriever and demanded a full refund for his 3-night stay. He told the front desk manager that his dog had been visibly unhappy the entire time. He claimed the animal was usually very high energy, but seemed grumpy and depressed in this specific room. He insisted that the hotel had bad vibes that were negatively affecting the mental health of his pet. The manager looked down at the dog, who was happily wagging its tail and eating a treat. The man still left a review saying the hotel was not dog-friendly. 13. A disappointed traveler stormed into the travel agency office after returning from her tropical beach vacation. She slammed the brochure on the desk and pointed an accusatory finger at the pictures of the coast. She shouted that her entire trip was a disaster because the sand was the wrong shade of beige. She claimed the photo promised blinding white sand, but the reality was slightly yellowish. She argued that her Instagram photos looked terrible because the background color was off. She demanded a refund for false advertising because the sand did not match the saturation of the printed marketing materials. 14. An angry British tourist wrote a formal letter of complaint to the resort management in Jamaica. He was furious that his flight home to England took 9 hours while other guests got home much faster. He explained that he met a couple from Miami who only had to fly for 3 hours to get home. He called this completely unfair and discriminatory against European travelers. He demanded that the resort organize faster flights or move England closer to the Caribbean. The staff pinned the letter to the break room wall as a reminder that geography is hard for some people. 15. A grumpy senior citizen called the restaurant manager over to his table at the all-you-can-eat buffet. He pointed a shaking spoon at his bowl of vanilla scoop and looked absolutely disgusted. He shouted that the ice cream was far too cold and it was hurting his sensitive teeth. He accused the kitchen of freezing the dessert on purpose just to annoy him. He demanded that the chef put the ice cream in the microwave for 30 seconds to warm it up. The waiter tried to explain that it would turn into soup, but the man insisted he wanted hot ice cream. 16. A monstrous mother-in-law caused a massive scene in the lobby during her son's wedding weekend. She screamed at the check-in staff because they had given the honeymoon suite to the bride and groom. She argued that as the mother of the groom, she was the most important person there. She claimed that since she raised the boy, she deserved the biggest room with the best view. She actually tried to steal the key from her new daughter-in-law's purse. The security team had to escort her to a standard room while she yelled about how ungrateful everyone was. 17. A chaotic party guest left a surprise that traumatized the housekeeping staff for weeks. The maid walked in to find that the man had smeared an entire pepperoni pizza directly onto the flat-screen television. She then discovered that he had hidden individual slices inside the pillowcases and under the mattress. The hotel charged him for the ruined electronics and the extra deep cleaning service. He called back to complain that he was just trying to save a snack for later. He argued that the television was warm and it acted like a giant plate. He is now banned for life. 18. A prankster guest filled out his special request form with a challenge that he thought was impossible. He wrote that he would only be happy if there was a framed photo of Nicolas Cage on his pillow. He specifically asked for a picture from the movie Con Air to be waiting for him. He walked into his room ready to be disappointed but froze in his tracks. The hotel staff had actually printed the photo and placed it gently on the bed. He was so shocked that he left a 5-star review and took the picture home as a souvenir. 19. A high-maintenance sunbather called the concierge desk to complain about the state of the ocean. She was furious because the tide was low and the water was too far away from her chair. She demanded that the manager make the tide come in at 10 in the morning instead of 4 in the afternoon. She explained that the current schedule did not fit her tanning routine at all. The concierge tried to explain that the moon controls the tides, and he has no power over gravity. She hung up and said she would speak to corporate about rescheduling the ocean. 20. A confused traveler caused a traffic jam at the airport drop-off zone with his rental vehicle. He flagged down a hotel representative and asked a question that stopped everyone in their tracks. He wanted to know the specific procedure for driving his rental car onto the airplane. He explained that he liked the car so much he wanted to drive it home to another country. The staff member had to explain that passengers sit in seats and cars stay on the ground. The man looked genuinely heartbroken that he could not pack a sedan into his carry-on luggage. 21. A confused dinner guest waved the waiter over to his table with a look of pure disgust on his face. He complained loudly that the soup of the day was completely inedible. He claimed the texture was far too thick and it tasted incredibly salty. The waiter looked down at the table and realized the bowl was still empty. The man had grabbed the ceramic boat of gravy and was eating it with a spoon like a gazpacho. The staff member politely explained that the brown liquid was meant for the roast beef. The guest turned bright red and argued that they should label the gravy more clearly. 22. A lonely businessman called the front desk late at night with a request that made the receptionist extremely uncomfortable. He asked for a member of the housekeeping staff to come up to his room immediately. The employee assumed there was a spill or a mess that needed cleaning. The man clarified that the room was clean, but he needed someone to physically tuck him into bed. He wanted the sheets pulled tight around his shoulders and a gentle pat on the head. The manager firmly refused the request and told him that the staff were not paid to be his mother. 23. A city. Tourist stormed into the ranger station at a mountain lodge screaming about safety. He explained that he had left his patio door wide open to let in the fresh air while he took a shower. He returned to the room to find a black bear eating his club sandwich and drinking his soda. He was absolutely furious that the hotel allowed this to happen on their property. He demanded a full refund because the management failed to control the local wildlife. The ranger had to explain that bears do not have key cards and they cannot be fired for bad behavior. 24. A high-maintenance diva sent a writer to the hotel management team a week before her arrival. She demanded that upon check-in her bathtub must be filled to the brim with warm goat's milk. She claimed that her skin was too sensitive for water and she needed the calcium to maintain her glow. The sourcing team panicked and tried to find a local farmer who could provide 30 gallons of milk. They eventually told her it would cost $500 to fill the tub. She canceled her reservation and told them they did not understand true luxury. 25. A difficult woman stood on the balcony of her oceanfront suite and called the general manager to complain about the view. She insisted that the sea was simply too blue and it looked completely fake. She claimed the intense turquoise color was hurting her eyes and giving her a headache. She accused the resort of dyeing the water to make it look better for the brochures. She demanded that someone turn off the color filter or move her to a room with a duller ocean. The manager silenced the phone and wondered if he was being pranked by a radio station. 26. A dissatisfied tourist visited Windsor Castle and wrote a scathing review that went viral for all the wrong reasons. He complained that the historic building was old and looked like a crumbling pile of stones. He argued that since the royal family has so much money, they should knock it down and build a modern one. He suggested adding a glass facade and better elevators to make it more impressive. He claimed he was bored by the history and just wanted to see something shiny. The internet quickly reminded him that the word castle implies that the building is supposed to be ancient. 27. A furious man missed his flight and screamed at the reception staff for holding him hostage. He claimed he had been trapped inside his hotel room for 24 hours against his will. The staff was confused because the door unlocked from the inside automatically. The man explained that he saw the "Do Not Disturb" sign hanging on the handle and thought it was a rule for him. He believed that he was not allowed to open the door until a maid removed the sign. He demanded compensation for the lost day and his missed plane ticket because the sign was too authoritative. 28. A wellness influencer checked in and handed the concierge a very specific list of demands for her morning routine. She required a glass of fresh organic celery juice to be delivered to her bedside the second she woke up. The staff asked her what time she planned to wake up so they could prepare it. She refused to give a time and said she wanted to wake up naturally. She expected the waiter to stand outside her door with a blender and use his intuition to know when she opened her eyes. She complained the next day that the juice was 3 minutes late. 29. A chaotic rock star left a scene of destruction that actually impressed the hotel engineering team. The housekeeping staff opened the door to clean the room and found the floor completely empty. They looked up and gasped because every single piece of furniture was nailed to the ceiling. The bed and the desk and the chairs were arranged in the exact layout of the room but upside down. The guest had spent the entire night using power tools to create a gravity-defying art installation. The hotel charged his credit card $10,000 to pry the furniture off the plaster. 30. A demanding parent filled out the special request box with a challenge for the housekeeping team. She wrote that her son would only sleep if there was a towel folded into the shape of an elephant wearing sunglasses. The head housekeeper took this as a personal challenge and spent an hour crafting the animal. She used 2 bath sheets for the body and a hand towel for the trunk. She even placed her own aviator sunglasses on the towel face. The guest complained upon arrival that the elephant looked more like a mastodon, and the sunglasses were a cheap knockoff brand. 31. A disappointed tourist stormed into the excursion desk after returning from a helicopter tour of the volcanoes in Hawaii. He slammed his brochure on the counter and demanded a full refund for the entire trip. He shouted that the active volcano was falsely advertised because there was barely any lava visible. He complained that he expected to see massive explosions and rivers of fire like in the action movies. He claimed the volcano was obviously turned off or running on low power during his visit. The tour guide had to explain that geological events are not controlled by a dimmer switch. He left a review saying the mountain was lazy. 32. A grumpy American traveler walked into the concierge office in Paris and threw his city map in the trash. He told the staff he was checking out early because the city was a complete disappointment. He described the Eiffel Tower as just a big, ugly lump of scrap metal that ruined the skyline. He was also furious that the people working at the monument refused to speak perfect English to him. He claimed it was rude for the French people to speak French in their own country. The concierge stared at him in silence. He left saying he prefers the fake tower in Las Vegas. 33. A furious amateur chef called the front desk of the extended stay hotel in a state of absolute panic. He shouted that he had booked a suite with a fully equipped kitchen, but it was a lie. He screamed that his breakfast was ruined because he could not find an egg slicer in the drawers. He argued that no kitchen could be considered complete without this specific tool. He refused to use a knife like a normal person because the slices would be uneven. The manager had to send a staff member to the dollar store to buy one just to make him stop yelling. 34. A high-maintenance guest called the engineering department with a plumbing emergency. The maintenance man rushed to the room expecting a leak or a flood. The guest pointed at the toilet bowl and complained that the water inside was far too cold. He explained that when he flushed it, the splash was shocking to his system. He demanded that the hotel install a water heater specifically for the toilet bowl to keep it at a lukewarm temperature. The plumber tried to explain that heating sewage water would make the bathroom smell terrible. The guest insisted that cold water was a violation of his human rights. 35. A housekeeper unlocked a room after a guest checked out and immediately dropped her cleaning cart in shock. She walked into the bathroom to find the entire tub filled to the brim with bright orange gelatin. The guest had apparently spent hours boiling water and mixing hundreds of packets of Jell-O powder. There was no note left behind and no explanation for why this happened. The gelatin had set into a solid block that wiggled when she touched it. The hotel had to hire a specialized crew to shovel the dessert out of the drain. The guest was charged $1,000 for the sticky mess. 36. An angry father marched his family back to the front desk just an hour after leaving for the water park. He screamed at the concierge for ruining their entire afternoon with his lack of communication. He shouted that nobody had explicitly told them they needed to bring swimsuits to the pool. He claimed they arrived at the park in their regular clothes and were denied entry to the slides. He argued that the hotel should have provided swim trunks for every guest as part of the package. The concierge politely explained that wearing clothes is generally expected in public places.
37.
An exhausted hiker returned to the mountain lodge and collapsed on a lobby sofa. She called the manager over and demanded to know why the brochure was so misleading. She complained that the mountains surrounding the hotel were far too steep for walking. She shouted that the hotel should have warned guests that hiking uphill requires physical effort. She actually suggested that the staff go out and flatten the trails to make them more level. She demanded a refund for her hiking boots because she had to use her leg muscles. The manager reminded her that mountains are famous for being tall. 38. A bored teenager sat in the back of the tour bus and refused to look out the window. His mother complained to the tour guide that the Grand Canyon was a total waste of money. She described one of the natural wonders of the world as just an overblown sandy ditch. She claimed that the view was repetitive, and she would have preferred to stay in the hotel room and watch a movie. She asked the driver if they could leave early because looking at rocks was boring. The guide was speechless that someone could hate a mile-deep canyon. 39. A short, elderly woman called the maintenance team with a carpentry request. She explained that the luxury mattress in her room was sitting too high off the ground. She struggled to climb into bed and felt like she was climbing a mountain. She demanded that a worker come up with a saw and cut exactly 12 inches off the wooden legs of the bed frame. The staff member tried to offer her a step stool instead of destroying the furniture. She refused the stool and insisted that lowering the bed was the only logical solution. She slept on the sofa instead. 40. A creepy husband sent a package to the hotel 3 days before his anniversary check-in. He called the concierge and gave very specific instructions on how to handle the contents. He wanted the housekeeping staff to open the box and lay out his wife's skimpy lingerie on the bed. He asked them to arrange the items in a seductive pattern to surprise her. The management team immediately refused the request and said they do not touch personal undergarments. The man argued that he was paying for 5-star service. The package was waiting for him unopened and sealed at the front desk. 41. A nature-loving guest decided to connect with the outdoors by opening every single window in his suite. He ignored the signs warning about local insects and removed the protective screens himself. He returned from dinner to find thousands of angry bees swarming his bedroom. He ran to the lobby screaming that the hotel was trying to assassinate him with stinging weapons. He demanded a full refund for the unsafe conditions and threatened to sue the honey industry. The manager pointed out that he had literally invited the hive inside. The guest claimed the bees should have known he was a VIP. 42. An angry American tourist stormed into a travel agency in downtown Sydney. He threw his hat on the floor and shouted that the entire country of Australia was a scam. He complained that he had been walking the city streets for 2 whole days and had not seen a single kangaroo. He expected them to be hopping down the sidewalk, carrying briefcases or delivering mail. He demanded compensation for false advertising because the brochures showed kangaroos everywhere. The agent sighed and explained that wild animals do not generally hang out in the central business district. The man left muttering about CGI. 43. A furious mother dragged her wet children to the front desk during a summer storm. She slammed her room key on the counter and demanded her money back for the last 3 days. She shouted that the weather was unacceptable and she had paid for a sunny vacation. She claimed that because it was raining, she could not use the outdoor swimming pool. She insisted that the hotel was responsible for the climate and should have a dome or a weather machine. The receptionist explained that clouds are not on the payroll. The woman wrote a review saying the manager lacked empathy for wet people. 44. A terrified skier stood at the base of the mountain and refused to move his feet. He called the resort hotline and screamed that the ski lift was a death trap. He complained that the chair was dangling too high in the air and it looked incredibly dangerous. He asked the representative if there was a way to ski without going up. He actually suggested that they flatten the mountain so he could ski on level ground. He argued that gravity was too aggressive for beginners. The staff member recommended he try cross-country, skiing instead. He claimed that walking on snow was too much work. 45. A confused diner waved his menu in the air and summoned the head chef to his table. He pointed aggressively at the vegetarian section of the menu and looked deeply offended. He complained that there were no steak options listed under the plant-based meals. He explained that he was a vegetarian who sometimes ate meat when he felt like it. He demanded that the kitchen cook him a ribeye but charge him for a salad. The chef tried to explain the definition of the word vegetarian. The man argued that cows eat grass, so technically the steak is a vegetable. 46. A frantic guest called the hotel reception 3 hours after he had checked out. He explained that he had made a terrible mistake and left a very important item in the mini fridge. The staff asked if it was medication or jewelry. The man said it was a half-eaten cheeseburger from a fast food chain. He demanded that the housekeeping team wrap the burger in bubble wrap and mail it to him in California. He insisted that the specific grease flavor could not be replicated. The staff refused to ship rotting meat across state lines. He hung up and called them thieves. 47. A hungry traveler called the maintenance department because his kitchen appliances were broken. He claimed his microwave was defective because the turntable was not spinning and the light was off. The engineer arrived and saw that the man had shoved a frozen burrito into the metal wall safe. The guest had locked his dinner inside a steel box and was waiting for it to get hot. He complained that the buttons made beeping sounds but no heat came out. The staff member had to unlock the safe and explain the concept of security. The burrito was still frozen solid. 48. A picky eater sent a very specific note to the room service kitchen regarding his dinner order. He requested a roasted chicken, but stated he would only eat the right leg of the bird. He claimed that chickens stand on their left leg more often, which makes the meat tough. He insisted that the right leg was more tender and tasted significantly better. He demanded that the chef provide a certificate proving which leg the chicken favored. The kitchen staff flipped a coin and sent him a random leg. He ate it and claimed he could taste the difference immediately. 49. A spiritual guest spent an hour at the check-in desk arguing with the reservation manager. He pulled out a compass and a protractor and laid them on the counter. He demanded a room where the sun would set at exactly 45 degrees to the right of the window. He explained that this specific angle was required to align his energy for the evening. He refused to look at any room that faced north or south. The exhausted clerk gave him a corner suite and told him to move his chair. He complained later that the earth rotated too fast. 50. A spooky woman walked into her assigned room and immediately ran back out into the hallway screaming. She told the bellboy that she could not possibly stay in that specific suite. She claimed that she had stayed in that exact room during a previous life in the 1800s. She insisted that she had bad memories of a ghost or a tragic event from 2 centuries ago. She demanded to be moved to a room that did not exist in the past. The hotel was built in 2005. The manager moved her to the new wing just to be safe. 51. A homesick American tourist stormed into the manager's office with an empty reusable shopping bag. He shouted that his entire vacation was ruined because the local grocery store was a complete failure. He explained that he walked 3 whole blocks and could not find his favorite brand of chocolate chip cookies. He blamed the hotel for not warning him about the lack of proper snacks in the country. He demanded that the concierge fly to the United States and buy him a box immediately. The B-Dog manager tried to offer him a local biscuit, but he threw it on the floor. He claimed that foreign sugar tasted like oppression. 52. A paranoid conspiracy theorist called the security office in a whisper at 4 in the morning. He claimed that the hotel was in grave danger because of a massive security breach. He pointed out that the locks on the conference room doors had not been changed in years. He insisted that this outdated hardware made the building vulnerable to an imminent alien invasion. He argued that extraterrestrials know how to pick standard locks and would steal the projector. He demanded that the staff barricade the doors with heavy furniture to stop the Martians. The guard hung up and double-checked the locks anyway. 53. A housekeeping team walked into a suite and immediately called for a priest and a contractor. The room looked like a sugar bomb had exploded inside a candy factory. A chaotic family had purchased 50 caramel popcorn balls and thrown them at every single wall. The sticky sugar acted like industrial cement and bonded the popcorn to the wallpaper. The guests had checked out hours ago and left no explanation for the sticky art project. It took 3 days of steam cleaning and scraping to remove the fossilized snacks. The hotel charged them $5,000 for redecorating the room. 54. An adventurous foodie called room service and asked for the daily specials with a serious tone. He listened to the list of pasta and burgers and then let out a heavy sigh. He demanded to know why there was no crocodile soup available on the menu. He claimed that a 5-star hotel should be able to source reptile meat at any hour. He argued that he needed the strength of a predator to get through his business meeting. The chef explained that they do not hunt animals in the lobby. The guest hung up and ordered a salad with a side of disappointment. 55. A furious car enthusiast marched into the valet stand and pointed a trembling finger at his vehicle. He screamed that the hotel had disrespected his expensive luxury sedan. He showed the manager a fine layer of yellow pine pollen on the hood of the car. He argued that the hotel should have prevented the local trees from releasing their pollen. He actually suggested that the staff wrap every tree in plastic or cut them all down. He demanded a free car wash and a written apology from the landscaping team. The manager explained that he could not control the reproductive cycle of plants. 56. A confused elderly woman called the front desk in tears because she was stranded. She explained that she had been trying to find the bathroom for 20 minutes. She claimed that the layout of the standard hotel room was far too complex for a human brain. She said she got lost somewhere between the bed and the television stand. She demanded that a staff member come up and draw neon arrows on the carpet to guide her. She compared the room to a dangerous labyrinth designed to trap seniors. The manager sent a bellboy to show her that the bathroom was 5 feet away. 57. A spiritual guru entered the lobby wearing a tinfoil hat and a crystal necklace. He approached the reception desk and demanded that they shut down the internet immediately. He claimed that the Wi-Fi signals were disturbing his delicate brainwaves. He insisted that the router was misaligning his chakras and making his aura turn a muddy brown color. He wanted the entire hotel to go offline so he could meditate in peace. The manager explained that 500 other guests were using the internet for work. The man hissed at the computer and ran away to shield his third eye. 58. A twisted prankster called the housekeeping department with a request that made the maid gag. He asked politely if they could find him a fresh dead mouse from the basement. He explained that he wanted to put the corpse in his friend's bed as a hilarious joke. He promised to tip the staff generously if they could find a rodent that was still intact. The head housekeeper was horrified and immediately refused to participate in biological warfare. She told him that the hotel was pest-free and he was sick. He later tried to catch a pigeon on the balcony instead. 59. A humiliated man whispered his complaint to the maintenance manager in a private corner of the lobby. He explained that he needed a raised toilet seat installed in his bathroom immediately. He claimed that the water level in the bowl was dangerously high. He said that when he sat down, his specific anatomy would accidentally dip into the cold water. He argued that it was a hygiene hazard and a shock to his system. The manager tried to keep a straight face while ordering a medical seat from the pharmacy. The staff now refers to that room as the splash zone. 60. A frugal son called the reservation line to book a room for himself and his sick father. He asked if the hotel could remove the king bed and install a full hospital bed. He explained that his dad was in hospice care and needed medical equipment. He then asked a question that made the reservation agent freeze in horror. He wanted to know if the hotel offered a prorated refund if his father did not last the week. He tried to negotiate a discount for a partial stay based on life expectancy. The agent gently suggested he try a hospital instead. 61. A delusional mother approached the concierge desk with a sparkly birthday invitation in her hand. She said she wanted to organize a magical surprise for her daughter in the hotel garden. She pulled out her credit card and asked to book a unicorn ride for the afternoon. The concierge smiled and offered a pony with a decorative horn attached to its head. The woman became furious and slammed her hand on the desk. She shouted that her child would know the difference between a fake horse and a real mythical creature. She demanded they source a genuine unicorn from the forest immediately. If there is one thing we learned today, it is that the customer is definitely not always right. Sometimes the customer is just hallucinating unicorns or angry that the ocean does not have a mute button. If you enjoyed judging these entitled disasters, smash that like button and subscribe to Ridiculous Complaints for more daily madness. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss the next wave of chaos. Now, I want to hear from you. What is the most insane complaint you have ever heard in real life? Let me know in the comments below.